Hi everyone, and welcome to the next hands-on activity, which is going to be focused on implementing the Django maintenance mode package. Now, of course, as it goes without saying, with this package, you'll be able to run your Django application in a maintenance mode based environment. Now, of course, there are many settings and configurations that you can set. So let's say, for example, you have a Django website and you want your entire website to be under maintenance mode. So in other words, you don't want any of your users to be able to access your website while you are, for example, doing updates or just configuring certain changes on your website. Or let's say, for example, you want only certain parts of your website to be under maintenance mode. So for example, you want all of your existing users to be able to log into your website, but you want to ensure that you don't have any new users signing up. So you may want to ensure that the registration page, for example, is under maintenance mode and inaccessible to users. So just a few examples and use cases for you to think about and ponder. So what you're going to need to do to ensure that you follow along easily with this video tutorial is to have a simple Django application up and running. So as you can see in my case, I have a home page, I have an option to register, I have an option to log in, and of course I'll have a dashboard as well. So you just want to have a few templates with linked views and URLs, etc. before you get started. Now, of course, as you can see in my application, my project is called Elevate, and I have a Django app here called CRM, which houses, of course, my views, URLs, etc., and my templates, namely dashboard, index, my login, register, etc. Within the CRM subdirectory of templates, which is defined at the app level. So we're using app level template rendering here, not at the project in level or in settings.py. So what you can do, of course, is you can go ahead and install this package. So we have a list of instructions actually here. So you can follow along the installation here. So we can just go ahead and copy the commands here that have been highlighted. So first of all, you can just stop your server. Make sure you're in your virtual environment. And you just want to install Django maintenance mode. There we go, that's been installed. Then we need to add maintenance mode to settings, to our settings of installed apps, and just make sure that your server is stopped for the moment. So I'm just going to add this maintenance mode, go to my settings.py file, and you want to make sure that you add it just before any of your predefined apps. So if you can read here, it says before custom application. So if you have any custom apps, for example, I have CRM, which of course, as you can see here in my application, houses my templates and all of the necessities here. So what you can do is you can just go ahead and put this before. So that's very important. So make sure you don't forget to do that. Right, then you want to add the maintenance mode middleware as the last middleware. So you can go ahead and copy the following. And here we have middleware. So what you want to do is you want to ensure that you start off with your quotes, enter in the middleware, and add in a comma at the end. Make sure it's at the end. Then you can go ahead and add your custom 503.html file. So a 503 is essentially a status code. That means our server is unreachable. So that is something optional that you can set. So as you can see in our case, in my CRM app under templates, I have templates and then I have my CRM subdirectory here. So that's something that we can adjust, and I'll show you in just a moment what you can do here. So the next thing that we can go ahead and do is restart our application server. So what you want to do is, before you do that actually, just to make sure that you don't run into errors, is you want to first of all set the basic configuration here for maintenance mode. So you want to copy this here, maintenance mode none, and then you can go ahead at the bottom here and just define that. Just make sure you switch it from none to false, okay? Because for some reason I noticed that there is a bug at the moment here. So make sure that you change this to false when you're adding it to your application to make sure that maintenance mode is not activated. So to make sure everything's running fine, you can go ahead and run your server. So python manage.py run server. Okay. Then you can go to your application, just refresh, and make sure you don't have any errors or whatnot. If you set it to none here, for some reason I've noticed in some cases you will get an OS error of the sort. So make sure you explicitly set it to false to ensure that maintenance mode is off. Okay, very important that you do that. And what we're going to do next is we're just going to go through some of these settings here. I'll highlight some of the configuration settings for what you can add, and then we can go on from that point accordingly. Right, so as we can see, we can still access our website with maintenance mode set to false. Now, of course, if we check the list of configuration settings here, if true, maintenance mode will be activated. So now if I switch this to true and refresh, you'll notice that I won't be able to access my homepage anymore. And if I try to individually head on to other routes of my application, such as the registration page and the login page, that I will not be able to access those pages. So by enforcing this variable maintenance mode and setting it to true, it does a system-wide shutdown, or not shutdown, but it essentially ensures that your whole website, your Django website, is in maintenance mode. So if I want to set everything back up as it was, set that to false, refresh your application, head on back, and there we can see we've got all of those views back up and running since maintenance mode is now in the false state. Right, so let's explore a few other settings. Now, as you can see, there are several settings that you can enforce with certain use cases. So for example here, if we set the maintenance mode ignore admin site option to true, okay, the admin site will not be affected by maintenance mode, okay, and as you can see here, you can configure this variable in place. We have additional variables here which we can set, such as setting up maintenance mode to ignore anonymous users and to ignore authenticated users. So basically, if we have an authenticated user, we can ensure that maintenance mode is not applied for that authenticated user and only for those that aren't authenticated towards our application. We can also set this to be ignored for super users, staff. And the most important thing of all here, which I think is very useful, is you can enact these decorators from maintenance mode and just plug them or attach them to your views to force maintenance mode off or to force maintenance mode on. And you can simply just add this onto your function-based views. You can also apply this to class-based views as well, if that is what you are utilizing. So as you can see, we have various options in place. So let's just play around with a few examples. And then of course, in your own time, you can go ahead and add in your own options here and just work on it with trial and error, and then to just go on from it from that regard. Right. So what we can do is we can head on to our application and we want to set maintenance mode to true. Right, make sure your server has been reloaded. Then we can refresh, and there we go. So we now know we have maintenance mode set to our entire application, and now let's go ahead and add in optional parameters. So what I want to do is I want to ensure that I add in the following variable to be able to access the admin site. So by default, you shouldn't be able to access the Django admin site. So if I put in /admin, you can see here it's ignoring, it is enforcing that protocol on the admin site. Now to turn this off, we can add in this variable, maintenance mode ignore admin site, and we can set this to true. Refresh, and there we go. We can see that we're now able to access our Django admin site. In the false state, of course, it's not going to approve of this variable to ignore the admin site. But true, you can see that we're able to access it without any issues. And if we try to navigate to our application, we can see it's still enforced on our website, but it's not enforced on the admin site. So it's one property that you can go ahead and add into place. Right, so let's continue. So let's see what else we can add in here. So let's say, for example, we want to override the default template here that's going to be shown by maintenance mode. So what we can do is we can copy the following, and you can add that in. And by default, it's going to look for this template. Now, in our case, so let me look at my app. I have gone ahead and added in a subdirectory called CRM. So it's by default in app level template rendering. This would be fine if I had 503.html in my templates directory and not in the CRM subdirectory here that I created. So by default, anything that's added just to templates here, if you just have a templates folder, you don't need to refer to the subdirectory. You can just plainly refer to the file. Now, in my case here, I have a subdirectory in template, so I'm going to need to right click on that, say new file, and I'm going to call this 503.html. like so, and then I can just add in a message here of sorts that says h1 my spelling, excuse me, maintenance mode active. Okay, and that's added to CRM here. Now, to give you clarity into my directory structure, if I go to my views, you can see I'm referencing it accordingly to CRM / and then of course the template. So we're going to have to say CRM as well / and then of course 503.html as I have stipulated it here. So I'm going to do the same thing. So CRM / 503.html. So now what will happen is, with maintenance mode active now and my server refreshed, I can go to my template and refresh here. You see maintenance mode active. So we can now see that's how you can override the template accordingly here, so that you're aware of the structure. So that is how I refer to my other templates in my views that I have set into place. So just keep that in mind, very important. Just make sure and understand the fact that I added a subdirectory in templates where I house those templates, and I need to reference that subdirectory specifically to then access these other templates that I have referred to. So that's how you can set it for your template. So an additional setting that you can add in and configure. All right, so we've got that set. Another thing that we can look at is our views. So if we want to force maintenance mode off, or if we want to enforce it to be on. So as you know, we have a system-wide maintenance mode active according to our settings here. So we have that set as follows. But let's go ahead and set it specifically for particular views. So you would need to ensure, if you're using a function-based view, that you import the relevant decorators here to import force maintenance mode off and force maintenance mode on. You can copy that, head on to your views, and anywhere in the top of your file you can go ahead and paste in those decorators to force maintenance mode on and force maintenance mode off. And for example, let's say I want to force maintenance mode off on my home page. So on my home page, what I can do is I can simply go ahead and add in this decorator force maintenance mode off as demonstrated here. And I'm just going to attach this to my home page here and refresh. And now you can see I can access my home page. But if I go to the registration page, maintenance mode is currently active. And login, maintenance mode is currently active. But as you can see, because I added in this decorator to force maintenance mode off, even though it's active on system wide to maintenance mode, it will remove that. And if I take off this decorator and refresh on my homepage, it's going to enforce maintenance mode again. So we just need to refresh again. Okay. Now we also have force maintenance mode on. So that's something else that you can also go ahead and set into place. So if you want to enforce maintenance mode on that particular page, you can also go ahead and set that up. So if I were to give you a typical example of how you can use something like this, you can essentially go ahead and do the following and set maintenance mode to false. Go to your website. Refresh it, just peruse through your website, just click on the links, make sure it's been deactivated. And now let's say, for example, I want the registration page to have maintenance mode active and the login page and the rest of the website to not be restricted. So I just want users to be able to log in that already have an account, and I don't want to take in any more new users to register to my website. What I can do is I can go ahead and add force maintenance mode on to a particular view. So I'm going to force maintenance mode to the registration page only, and everything else, of course, based on the global setting, I want maintenance mode to be off. So now if I refresh my page and go to login, for example, that's fine, and register, you can see maintenance mode has been active on that particular page. However, if I have an account on my website, I can log in easily because maintenance mode is only being done for that particular template or part of my application. So that's how you can go ahead and play around with the various settings here that we have set. And it's a very useful package, and I think it's definitely something that pretty much all Django applications should use, especially in production mode. Alright guys, so that is it for this video tutorial, and as always I want to thank you for all the support and everything, and I'll see you next time with another video. So again, thank you so much.